Hello again, Maria here. Yesterday I dropped a little video recording of going into, or underneath rather, some toxic shame. And I just wanted to clarify a few things. I think I mentioned that I've been experiencing toxic shame for a lot of my life. And it's been a roller coaster ride of being on a mystical God path and then being constantly beat down by this dark energy, this toxic shame. And so it's felt as if my life has been a roller coaster ride. And I've never, I've struggled to be anchored in God and to feel totally worthy of God's love, to be able to receive goodness in my life, to feel that I deserve anything good, happiness, peace, joy, prosperity, health, etc. And like I said, it's been a roller coaster ride, up, down, like just constant. I could have a good month and then bam, something, I do. Oversharing is a big one. Um, I'm pretty open and I share with friends and strangers and then after sharing and being vulnerable and not necessarily censoring a lot, afterwards I get hit with the shame stick, and I end up in a shame spiral of just, why did I share? Why was I vulnerable? Like, I'm the weird one. Why am I like this? I'm too much, blah, blah, blah. So it's that critical voice again, that internal critic, the inner critic, just the voice of parents and society and, any crappy voice that's ever, beat me up. Um, and I've often been quite powerless to that voice. And it's been a bully in my life. So a few weeks ago, I was talking to a good friend, Christian friend, one of the church ladies, and I was telling her, like, why is it, I feel God, I know Jesus, and there are such moments of peace and clarity and love and feeling held and knowing the truth, and then something happens, or and then I'm back down in the pit. I'm in a pit of despair and shame and feeling worthless and all of that. And my friend just yelled at me on the phone. She just shouted at me. And she pretty much screamed, that's Satan. That's Satan in your life. Don't listen to that. That's the voice of the devil. It's all lies. And I was a little taken aback by this. And as the day progressed and things settled, I realized um, I realized that my friend really loved me, that she really loves me, for her to yell at me like that. I mean, she's heard me, up and down, up and down, up and down, unable to be, stabilized in God and the truth, and just probably even addicted to this pattern. I mean, it's been just so, it's accompanied me most of my life. So it's like an old shitty friend that just won't let go. And so I realized, one, she was right, that shame is a lie. Um, and I can psychoanalyze that. I can put it in biblical terms. I can put it in any kind of spiritual, perspective. Ultimately, it's not a friend. It's not love. It's not the truth, and it's not our nature. It's not coming from God. It's not part of our. It's not part of our Christ nature, and so she recommended to me that I pray the armor of God, which is in Ephesians. Every time the shame comes up, pray, recite it, memorize it, learn it. And then also she recommended Psalm 91. And they're all about being strong and being able to stand in the power of God and, have boundaries against these energies, these forces of darkness that are in the world and that are beyond the world, in the heavenly realms. And so I've been doing that for a few weeks. And so when I shared that practice yesterday, I was already I'm feel like I'm somewhat firmly established in recognizing that this is a lie. Before, I knew it was a lie, but I didn't have the defenses to constantly and persistently deny that force, that the lie. I couldn't stand steadfastly in the truth. And so that's why I was constantly, it was like no wonder I'm exhausted. A lifetime of like fighting this. So I want to say that it's really important, and it was important for me to recognize that first and foremost, to have some sure footing in knowing that. And because of that, I wanted to see what was, if anything, underneath the shame. So even though I could see the shame, I could see the shame coming up in the pattern, in the writing of the text. I was like, could hear, what this voice is telling me, and I knew it was a lie, and I knew it was shame, and there was just some curiosity in me about is there anything underneath that? I don't think there's any value in sitting in the shame and like just letting it take over and blend and consume and think that's the landing place and staying there. I mean, that's the story of my life. It's a shitty place to be. And I'm sure that, people who have complex PTSD or other forms of trauma that's been unresolved and are experiencing that kind of toxic shame, know that what the fruit of that life is. It's not good, and it's not God. So I want to say, know that first. It is not from God. It is not from Jesus. It is not from any one who is truly coming from the truth, from goodness, from unconditional love and peace. So know that going in. Secondly, I'm part of the journey of shame and by the way that I arrived here. I mean, thank God for my friend yelling at me. But I've also been looking at, for the last 2 years, my father wounds and most recently mother wounds. And a lot of the shame came from both of those relationships when I was a child and continued into adulthood. And it feels like I've moved through a lot of the father wound, and I it feels like I've moved through the mother wound. We'll see. I'm still coming out. So, but this, I think the dealing with this toxic shame is possibly the capacity to see it and to make a different decision in how I will respond to it is coming from having done some of that other work. And all of the work is there's always a surrendering to God. There's looking at it, feeling held. I'm not doing the work alone. And in recognizing the lie that shame is, there's no point at all in negotiating with it, in turning towards it and arguing with it. I can recognize the lie, be aware shame is coming up, and say, hey, you're a lie. I know you're a lie. So now what? And I realize that, the shame is not just that I believe that I was unworthy of God's love, that I was so, I thought I'm just so broken and so inconsequential and not at all valuable to God, and that, he would abandon me. I'm the last person he would pick, on his team and, or her team. And, but I realized, that there's some self-consciousness that I've experienced much of my life. One, from being fat as a kid and growing up fat as a woman. And also, internalizing this hypercritical voice of shame. I've been very focused on what do other people see when they look at me. And then it's like being in a hall of mirrors where it's like, I'm feeling shame. I'm thinking they're seeing my shame. They're judging me as shameful and worthless, etc. And then it's like all of this shame is bouncing off in these mirror, reflective surfaces, and it's amplifying the shame. And then I end up dissociating if I focus on it, or beating myself up with the shame stick, after sharing, being myself, right? Just being myself. And so I start to ask God, how do you see me? How do you see me? And hoping that God wouldn't see me the way that I was seeing me, colored and painted with shame. And so that's been being answered as well. God wants me, has a longing for relationship with me. And I have that longing for a relationship with God. So it's like, oh, God, you do want to have a relationship with me. You long to be with me. And you want to be with me, around me, beside me, behind me, always with me, as a witness and so that I'm not alone. And I'm starting to see other ways that God sees me. And in this sort of healing of, well, how does God see me? Because me knowing that shame is a lie is not enough for me to start to feel this love and on a daily, on the daily, and to even just feel that for myself, coming from God through me to me. And so I don't know, like I said, I could easily just say, you know what, that's shame. I'm not even going to go there. There's nothing here to look at. It's a lie. And you know what? I think that's valuable. I mean, it has been valuable. And I anticipate it being more and more valuable, as I proceed. But this time, I just felt an impulse from within to see what's underneath, to see if there's anything underneath. I mean, I didn't even know. And and what I did find was that little wounded part, that sad, wounded, unsupported part that believed the shame story. And so, well, some people might just go straight, boom, it's a lie, off, I'm going to, go turn the TV on or take a walk or whatever. And, that'd be awesome. I'd love to be able to like, oh, shame, going for a walk, bye-bye, come with me. I'll show you a good time on the walk. This time I turned inward, and not to like sit in the shame. I mean, shame was an entry point because it was already happening. So it's like, okay, the shame is coming up. Oh, about that letter. Burden, I'm in imposition. Oh, worm, don't exist. Okay. Then it was like, oh, there's a wounded little part here that is very sad and very alone. And it was hidden and unacknowledged. And so I just want to say that whatever it was, the Holy Spirit, a little nudge, saying, hey, go take a look underneath that rock, and finding that child part of me was good. It was really good. Because when you grow up feeling shame, when you grow up feeling unloved, and you're not given love, like the real thing, right? When you grow up with that kind of voice that's external and then becomes internalized, like there's not a lot of love there for yourself. And I'm not talking about an egocentric kind of love, but just feeling like, you know what, I matter to God. I matter to someone. I matter in a way that is not, it's not prideful. It's not about, blowing up my sense of, egoic self, but it's just a healthy self-regard, right? Dignity, self-respect, and kindness towards myself. So in doing that process, just sitting with whatever was coming up, not having a conversation with shame, but like being in the energy of it and seeing what comes up, being open and curious, receptive, being in the presence of God, compassionate, self-regard. Something came forward and was felt, and I was with that child part as God was with me. So I'm not walking alone, and that small part of me is no longer walking alone, and is no longer, burdened with that shame. And that child part doesn't know that it was a lie, believed it, and started to carry it for a lifetime. And, my life has shown the fruit of that, and it's pretty rotten. So, never too old to turn a corner, to see the truth, to go within and, walk with God. And so I'm just sharing my experience. None of this is therapy. None of this is, hey, go do it. If you're not prepared to do this, then, find out a little more. Get some support. Go to a group. Go to church. Find your people. Pray if you're alone. Be with your pets. Find someone who respects you and cares about you and trust yourself. Ultimately, trust yourself. When you listen and you start to trust that even the things that are showing up that are really crappy, God is in that. God, the beloved is in that. There's love in that. Something there is trying to get our attention. And we need to build the skill set and the capacity to be with the hard things. And it requires honesty, self-reflection, but not too much navel gazing. I know all about that. So, yeah, this is not a prescription for how to handle, shame when it comes up all the time. It's just when something is coming up, don't be afraid to face it. I think that's it. I've been so afraid of the monsters in the closet for so much of my life, and shame has been a big one. I felt so mentally attacked by it for a lot of my life, and it's it resulted in a lot of suicidal ideation and poor choices. Feeling, oh, I'm not going to be around to have to deal with that consequence, or plan for retirement. I won't be around. So this is just a weird pep talk about trusting yourself, trusting God within, being gentle on yourself, listening to that still small voice within. No hard and fast rules about, how to handle every situation. Everything is new and fresh, and, maybe the next time it will be, oh yeah, I already did that. I don't need to go underneath that shame response. It's coming up. Or maybe it's like, I wonder if that little sad part is still there. Maybe I'll go and take a look under the rock again. I don't know. But that's part of trusting God and trusting myself. And I just wanted to touch base on that. And, wherever you are on your journey, I hope that you are gentle with yourself and gentle with others. When we grow up feeling toxic shame, we tend to project that onto other people, and can then affect our relationships, and there might be grief around that. So feel it, and let the situation be sort of the what do they say, the trailhead in IFS language. It's the trailhead. It's like where you start. It's the starting point. And then at some point, drop the story, tend to the sensations in the body, and just listen and be open. You don't even have to ask, like, who's here, what's happening, is there a part, it's not an inquisition. It things will arise of their own, and trust when they come up, because if it's scripted, if I'm poking around and I'm looking and digging and like looking at a timeline of my life and trying to find the associations, well, what am I fabricating? This is about telling the truth, and the truth is already inside, and it wants to come out. And truth is love. Sometimes it's hard to face the truth and to face yourself, and face the monsters. But going inside and trusting what comes up, you know when it's real. You know when it's, fake. I'm not promoting fake. um, and anyway, I just, gee, this is longer than yesterday's video. Whatever. Yeah. I wish you luck. Good luck with shame and anything else that comes up. I don't know if I'll be posting other videos. I just felt like, hey, I'm not doing anything else right now, and I just want to put some good juju out there, and maybe, just free myself a little bit of my own self-consciousness, and so facing whatever I need to face by doing this, which is kind of scary. All right, take care. Peace.